Welcome to this Blend Ed session. My name is Caitlin McMillan. I'm a teaching and learning consultant at the Connected Learning Centre, and I am delighted today to introduce Sophie from ParentZone, who is our special guest. Hey, Sophie.
Hello, Caitlin. How are you doing?
I'm all right, thank you. As you can see, I am at my place of work, which is very exciting.
I'm quite jealous, I have to say.
Got some robots behind me. So I'm going to mute myself and hand over to you.
Thank you, Caitlin. Now I'm going to attempt to share my presentation. So for those of you that don't know ParentZone, we are a social enterprise and we really sit at the heart of digital family life. Our aim is to support families to manage the challenges, but mainly the opportunities that the digital world brings to their lives, but also to support the educators, professionals, the turn-to professionals that surround parents. So I'm going to talk to you a bit about what we've learnt over the numerous lockdowns, plural lockdowns, and what we're doing to kind of change our services and our delivery and our offer to parents, because we know that we are potentially at a really pivotal moment here. We have thrown, in some cases, parents into a very steep learning curve. I'm mixing my metaphors there, where they have had to get to grips with a lot of new technology, not just so that they could support their children's learning online, but also for their own family life. So family Zoom calls and quizzes and birthdays all online. So what we want to do is kind of look at how we can take this opportunity, this moment where parents have found that digital is much more part of their family's life, and they've potentially got a better understanding of why their children and young people love it so much. So I'm just going to briefly talk you through a couple of the programs that we've run specifically over lockdown. One was deliberately over lockdown, the other was less so deliberately, and I'll explain what I mean about that in a moment. So we ran at the beginning of the year a series of YouTube shows, which Caitlin kindly joined, called Remote Schooling SOS. So what we did was put a call out to parents and ask them what questions they would like us to answer. And we were slightly overwhelmed, I think, by lots of technical questions. Why won't my printer work was not one that we could actually fix, but lots of questions about how do I help to engage my child in sitting in front of a screen, and then they want to go on the screen again to do something else. So helping them think about boundaries and behaviour and skills that they might need to learn. And we had a series of guests that were able to talk specifically about tech in education, which is what Caitlin did, but also the power and importance of play, how we might learn lessons from remote learning and remote schooling, and take those learnings with us into back into the classroom. So some of the things that we found from parents was actually a renewed, or maybe even a newfound, respect for teaching staff. So we had lots of parents tell us, wow, we could not do this. And I think that's a really good thing to harness. I was running some training earlier on, and a teacher said that they're finding that parents have a much better understanding of where their children are academically now, so that because they're more involved in their children's learning, or they have been over the last year or so, they have a better understanding of where their strengths are, where they might need more support. So I think we've got a really good moment here to encourage that to continue, and I'll explain a bit more later on about why we think that's so important. We know that that during lockdown, with parents only being able to contact schools remotely, for some that's been more challenging, but actually a lot of teachers and parents were reporting to us that it's actually improved communication between home and school, and we know how important that is to a child's, not just their attainment, but their overall development. And having parents on board, on side with what children are learning. Obviously, we have a focus on what goes on online, so particularly around online safety. That has been really important too. Anecdotally, we've heard there's been better engagement with parents' evenings. I certainly have found parents' evenings a very different experience. No longer am I sitting outside a classroom for half an hour thinking, when will that other parent stop talking? With having a very specific amount of time and knowing you only have 5 minutes, actually, I think has worked really well. I think it's been better for teachers as well. And we found that parents are moving closer, as I said, to their children's online lives. And we know when it comes to online safety and promoting digital resilience, that parents feeling confident about that understanding, but also being enthusiastic and warm about what it is that their children love about the online space is absolutely crucial to promoting digital resilience. So the other program that we accidentally ran during lockdown was our partnership with Facebook and Instagram. So way before COVID, we had started to develop Your Digital Family, which was envisaged as a face-to-face event where community groups would be able to run a family quiz. So this was aimed at families who had children kind of at the start of secondary education, where they could come together and give them opportunities to talk about what tech is like in their home. So rather than a parents' evening where some of you may have experienced, you get told that you don't know anything that your children are doing and they're doing really risky and dangerous things, and scaring parents into either overreaction or inaction, as we found, or a student session that is about a kind of rules and tools approach. This was about bringing the whole family together. And it was due to be launched in March 2020, which obviously did not happen. So we took a break to think about whether we could upskill the community groups that we were going to be working with to deliver this online. And actually what we found was a kind of side benefit of delivering this online was that we were able to upskill those professionals who mainly came from very small community organisations and a lot of sports organisations who were not delivering, as you could imagine, were not delivering content online. So it kind of had a dual purpose. We were able to upskill those practitioners to deliver possibly their first virtual event, and we were able to bring families together. One of the things that really interested me about the training when we ran it for the practitioners was that some of the feedback from some of these groups were actually some of the stereotypes about the communities that they were working with were really being debunked. I don't know if that's a word, I've put it on the slide. So a group, thank you, Caitlin, nodding away, yes, it is a word. A family support worker who was working in Tower Hamlets with the Bangladeshi community was saying actually the mothers were really, really keen to learn. They knew they could recognise the importance of having those digital skills. They could recognise the importance of being able to connect with their friends and family on Zoom. So they really wanted to take part. This was something that was really important to them. There was an enthusiasm within families for connecting and understanding more about the digital world and the digital skills that their children and young people were going to need. So alongside the practitioners that we trained, we also trained some young people from those organisations who were going to either co-deliver or promote the sessions that they were running. And we had some lovely feedback from one young person who said, you know, what he was getting from this training and the opportunity to deliver this session to other families were skills that he knew he was going to need when he went into the workplace. So he was going to need presentation skills. He was going to need to know how to put a slide deck together. He was going to need to know how to run Zoom really well. He recognized that these were skills that were going to put him in really good stead for his future employment. And another thing that struck us about the Your Digital Family programme was we could really see a move away from parents relying on a rules and tools approach. So a lot of online safety education has been very much focused around using technology to solve what are social issues. So they are about how children and young people behave online, how other people behave towards them, this kind of skills they need. So we could see that actually parents feeling more engaged with what their children love, why they love it, learning new things from each other, was moving them away from that approach to a more sustainable approach, which was about their confidence in discussing this with their children, and doing it in a way that didn't feel intrusive, particularly with that age group where, you know, they need to have a degree of privacy and independence. And actually what we need them to do is to internalize the parenting that they receive, rather than think that they have to kind of just use tools to manage their online environment. One of the things that we're really interested in at the moment, and we've been doing some work with Dave Coplin, who Caitlin will know from Remote Schooling SOS, who ex-Microsoft, Rise of the Humans is his book and his YouTube channel. And we are very interested in thinking about, now that we have this moment, how can we make sure that parents continue to understand all of the benefits of acquiring digital skills? So not just thinking about this in terms of coding, which often comes up, as useful as it is, and sort of computer skills, but actually we know that digital is going to affect, or digital and technology is going to affect every part of family life. So it's going to affect your health, your wealth, your relationships, your education, and really helping parents keep with the program is what I was going to say, but keep that understanding. There's a great quote from a parenting expert that says that a parent's role is to raise a child for the world they are going to live in. So it's not about this moment now, it's about supporting our children to be ready for all of these things. There is an increase in earnings and your employability if you have good digital skills. Retail transactions are easier and sometimes cheaper if you can do them digitally. Communication, being able to communicate online in an effective and positive way, will have benefits way beyond a children's kind of childhood, and lots of obviously time-saving benefits as well. So one of the questions we've been asking ourselves is, how do we bring parents on this journey with us? So how do we make sure that they feel included in what their children are doing online and see the benefits to their family life? One of the things that we would hear an awful lot, and still occasionally now, is parents feeling really left behind, feeling kind of overwhelmed by too many kind of apps that they feel they have to get to grips with, and games and different platforms, and now learning platforms. And what we want to do is focus on what they can bring as parents to this. Everything that we do is evidence-based, and parenting is obviously at the heart of what we do. So this is just a quote from a report by Charles Desforges, which looked at the interaction between the quality of parenting, I suppose, and pupil achievement. So the report said that parental involvement in the form of at-home good, and we would say good enough, this is not about perfect parenting, but good parenting has a significant positive effect on children's achievement and adjustment, even after all other factors shaping attainment have been taken out of the equation. So really pressing home to parents the importance of their role, so that they can have a really powerful effect. Not just, obviously we're interested in children's achievement and attainment, but holistically we're more interested in raising confident and happy children online and offline, and parents play such a crucial role in that. We did a piece of research back in 2014 with Virgin Media and the Oxford Internet Institute called A Shared Responsibility, which looked at what made young people resilient online. So what made them able to know when they were at risk, understand what to do if something went wrong, know who to talk to, and importantly, recover from bad or challenging experiences. And what we found was that supported and enabling parenting has a more positive impact on resilience than parental strategies that monitor or restrict internet use. Also, we found that children who had good digital skills and were optimistic about their digital future were also more resilient online. When we talk about resilience, we don't mean that they're able to bounce back or bear difficult situations. We are talking about the environments that they find themselves in. So whether that's a platform, whether that's within a school, a library, any service, that the support systems around them are supporting them to know when they're at risk, understand who to turn to, learn from their experiences and recover. Oh, and I have a slide, a very handy slide. If you want to find out more about digital resilience, the Digital Resilience Working Group, which is part of UKIS, the UK Council for Internet Safety, has set up a digital resilience hub. And they're doing lots of work to kind of map out case studies, to look at how these 4 elements of digital resilience can be mapped across a specific project or a learning resource or a delivery of a service. So the onus is really not on the individual, it's on the systems and the support around them. So what are we doing? I want to just talk you through a couple of the projects that we're doing that are really about sparking parents' interest in digital skills and their children's online worlds, and making sure that we keep them with us on the journey. And I think what we found over many years of talking to teachers, particularly around online safety, is that parents really respond well if they know what their children are doing in school. So if you are teaching a particular topic around online safety, making sure that parents are aware of that so they can be reinforcing those messages at home as well. And that kind of brings them closer, bridges that gap between their online experience and their children's. So Be Internet Legends is our partnership program with Google. It's been running for 4 years now. So over the last year, we've had to really pivot this. I was trying not to use any very overused phrases like challenging times, but we've made a digital pivot. So Be Internet Legends was a part of the program was face-to-face assemblies, which are now all delivered virtually. And it's aimed at Key Stage 2 to teach children to develop the skills and behaviours that they need to be safer and more confident online. And the reason I'm bringing up the Internet Legends is because aside from the curriculum that forms the kind of heart of the programme, we have really developed a lot of resources to engage parents with this messaging as well, to help them understand the messages that their children are learning through their schooling. So Interland is one of the games that's part of the Internet Legends, and that's been a great thing, particularly over lockdown, challenging parents to play Interland alongside their children, making sure that there is a way that parents and children can come together. Most of Interland's fairly easy, I would say. There is one level that I still can't finish, but I think it's a nice kind of challenge to send home to parents to make that link between home learning and what's being learned in the classroom, whether that's a virtual classroom or face-to-face. We've also run digital drop-ins for parents. We have parent packs. We have the Legends Family Adventure, which is an animated series of little online safety films that have been made by Aardman, that's all about family and being in Interland, so following a family of internauts. Super cute, but obviously very educational as well. And we launched a challenge for schools alongside that. So again, really emphasizing that you're going to get much better results if you can bring parents along with you, where they can be reinforcing those messages at home as well. So another one of our products, which we know from teachers has been really useful over lockdown, where you will have been telling your pupils that, you know, over the last few years, that they're trusted adults, those adults that we want them to turn to if they have a concern, should be in multiple places. We don't want them just to be at school or at home. We want them to have trusted adults in multiple places. And obviously through lockdown, that was taken away. So what we've been able to do with Ollee is provide a way for parents and children to communicate really through an app. So it's a progressive web app, and it is really about sharing. So it can be used either by a child or an adult, and it's about giving information and advice to children and to their parents to help them kind of manage their emotions and their feelings. So it's supported by teacher packs and professional packs, content that you can access for free on our website. And really, sharing is and talking is at the heart, and that's really what we need to be encouraging. The more parents talk to their children, understand, and I think really more importantly than talking is the listening bit. And my background is in parenting, and sometimes I think that's the hardest thing to do as a parent, is just to stop and listen. Often it's very tempting to jump in and give your advice straight away. So what we're trying to encourage is that children start that conversation. They can link their account to their parents' account and share advice on a particular topic if they're finding it difficult to do that face to face. And we know that teachers are also using this in the classroom, and I think the feedback we've been getting over the last few weeks when we've been doing some teacher workshops is that a lot of the issues that have maybe been bottled up or children haven't felt they've been able to talk about outside of the home are sort of suddenly the floodgates have opened, and children are now thinking and talking about maybe their experiences over lockdown, or how they're feeling about return to school, all of those sorts of things. So we've really put a focus on helping parents feel comfortable and confident using technology to communicate with schools, to be more involved in what their children love about the online world, but also get closer to their children. So we're not suggesting that tech is the parenting answer, but it does give parents another tool to be able to perhaps talk to children in an environment where their children might feel more comfortable and confident. So you can get Ollee completely for free. If you go onto the ParentZone website, you can download a teacher's pack. There's handouts for parents, there's stuff to use in class, and there's also a professionals pack as well. So just briefly, I think 4 of the things that I'd like you maybe to have a think about in your school. There are still barriers. I hope I haven't painted too much of a rosy picture about parental engagement and digital. There are still obviously things that parents are really concerned about, and screen use, the amount of time that children are spending online is front of mind, I think, for a lot of parents. There has been coverage recently over the last couple of days about a new report from the IWF, which talks about children's exposure to harm online from predators. And again, these are things that parents have front of mind. And really, we want you to feel confident enough to be able to engage with parents and be able to signpost them information. So we have lots of content on the ParentZone website that you can access completely for free. We take a really pragmatic approach. We definitely don't want to scare parents into either overreacting to a situation or thinking that would never happen to them. So really giving them the clear information that they can use to make a decision about what they feel comfortable with their children doing, and understanding and learning more about those platforms and those spaces. So one of the conversations we've been having with teachers over the last few weeks are some of those online elements of parental involvement that you might be able to retain. So might you keep some aspects of online parents' evenings? Are you going to keep some aspects of digital communication that some parents have found much easier than face-to-face communication? What services can you signpost parents to so that they feel more confident about that understanding? And where can you get that further support and ideas for yourself around parental and family engagement? So I would encourage you, if you haven't before, to have a look at the ParentZone website, to find us on social media. And if you do have any questions that occur to you after the session, please do email info@parentzone.org.uk, comes to my inbox. So I will be the one that answers. And that is me done.
Thank you so much, Sophie. I've been scribbling away with notes during that. That was brilliant and so useful to know. So I just wanted to ask you a couple of questions before we throw the floor open. You mentioned at the end there, and I think it's something that we're hearing a lot here as well, about this idea of parents being concerned about the amount of screen time that young people have had over the last year, with sort of learning and leisure being. I worry slightly that there might be a sort of backlash to using tech, in the sense of, oh, well, that was the year of tech and now we need to move away. For this project, we're talking about blended. We're talking about kind of marrying the two and using the best approach. Do you have the same worries about this kind of backlash? And what sort of conversations are you having around that?
I totally agree. I think there is the potential for that to happen. And I think that's where we need to really be thinking about our messaging to parents. So the idea of things like that rear their heads every now and then, digital detox and things like that, but actually really understanding the benefits of what it is that children are doing online. So you will know not all screen time is equal. So there is a big difference between sitting and passively scrolling through TikTok or Instagram, other people's content, and playing a game with your friends or doing a quiz or learning something or just taking some downtime to watch cats falling off things on YouTube. You know, there is a really big difference. So that's the message that we would want to get across to parents is it may feel like, you know, your child hasn't been off a screen for the last year. Absolutely, balance is important, and those rules and boundaries that you want to set, but really have that understanding of the importance of connection. And if you think about the things that children want to do online, most of it is about connecting. So socializing gaming, my 16-year-old now won't play on the PlayStation unless his friends are online, because that's socializing. That's the really important aspect of gaming. So you can really see that if you can change the messaging about screen time, and I think we're starting to see that change. So rather than thinking about in terms of how much time they spent online, whether they've been connecting with other people, what kind of content they've been looking at, what the context is. So 6 hours locked away in your bedroom playing a game where you're not interacting with anyone else, yeah, that's not balance. But if you are playing, you know, multiplayer games, you're playing with your friends, you're learning something new, you're doing your homework, all of those things, I think that's the messaging that we want to get across, and recognizing that that parents are going to have those concerns, but really putting the opportunities and the positivity up front, whilst recognizing, you know, the kind of risk and harm that goes alongside any kind of digital interaction.
Yeah, all screen time is not created equal is essentially, I feel like, would be our tagline.
Yep.
I wanted to delve a little bit more into the Ollee app, which I know at the CLC we've been lucky enough to hear lots about and to have a lot of play with. Brilliant. I've written down it's essentially a blended approach to parenting, which I like a lot on our Blend Ed program.
Yeah.
And that it's taking technology and putting it to a real world use in that way. I was just wondering if you have sort of any sort of reports or any anecdotes or anything kind of from parents talking about how they've used it practically.
So Ollee is funded by a 3-year grant from Children in Need in the McMillan and Me programme, which is all focused on early intervention to support children's mental health and well-being. So this is not a specialist service around mental health support, but it is, if you like, kind of trying to get in early so that things don't escalate. So part of the programme, as you can imagine, we've kind of got 3 stages for each year, and we are iterating all of the time. So my colleague Lucy runs the programme and has been writing case studies and consulting with professionals as well as with parents and children. So what we found is that actually, contrary to what we thought might happen, parents and children are sitting down together at the same time at Ollee. So we had thought that that children might use it separately, send the content to their parents, and then their parents would use that as an opportunity to have a conversation. But actually, they've been co-using it, which is really interesting. It works really well on a tablet and a smartphone. It's kind of made for smartphones, really. So we're looking at how we might encourage parents and children to set up an account on Ollee so they can save the stuff, and then they might go back and look and think, oh wow, this time last year I was really worried about X, and actually I feel much better about that, and it's Y now. So there are lots of different pathways that children and parents can go down to get the advice. Anecdotally from teachers, we've actually had a kind of expert group that are using it within their classrooms, and it has resulted in children disclosing issues that have really been worrying them, and they haven't been able to find a way to talk to their parents about them, and that's been a really great trigger for then that trusted adult to support that communication with parents. And yeah, I think it is a blended approach to parenting. I think part of the issue is that there's an awful lot of advice online for parents around online safety. This is not about online safety. This is about recognizing that the digital world kind of touches every aspect of children's lives. There's not that much. It's hard to find content about parenting and to know exactly how to respond. Often what parents get told is you need to talk to your children, which is fine if you know what to ask and you know what to say when you hear something that worries you. And that's really what the role of Ollee is, to facilitate those conversations and equip parents and children so they feel more confident about starting that. And for younger children, really understanding their emotions. So understanding why they might feel scared about going to school, or why they might feel worried about their friendships, or if something's gone wrong. So helping them work through that, and then have a really good starting point then to have a conversation with a parent. And if they're linked up to Ollee as well, there's loads of parenting advice. The old standard of, just taking a deep breath and pausing before you respond, and remembering that the first thing you say is the thing that they will remember when they've come to you, particularly if it's about something difficult. But yeah, I love the idea of it being a blended approach to parenting. I have to nick that, I'm afraid.
Go for it. It's yours. As long as you put the Blended website.
Blended, yes.
Brilliant. I just have one more question for you. Which is actually throwing a question that you raised at the end back to you.
Oh no.
It's always a cheeky thing to do, isn't it? So one of the things that you invited the teachers who are participating in this session to think about is what elements of parental involvement and online parental involvement can you maintain? What's worked really well? You gave the example of staff meetings and parents' evenings, which I think absolutely we're hearing that as well. I was just interested if you have any more ideas or, again, anecdote stories of things that have really worked over the last year that schools and parents might be really interested in kind of keeping going.
Sure. We have for years heard from schools that it's really hard to get parents to come to online safety evenings. To the point where we would say, don't run online safety evenings then, you need to be thinking about other things. So right at the beginning of the first lockdown, we kicked off a series of we called them parents' evenings, open to any parent to kind of think about, okay, we are in lockdown, there's a lot of screens around, there are lots of competing demands on screen time, let's just go back to the basics, don't beat yourself up. And we live streamed them on YouTube. We actually had amazing, I think for the first one, we had 150 viewers live We didn't reach that after that, but actually what we found was the viewbacks, the watchbacks, the people being able to access the content as and when they wanted it was really important. So we were able to put a live session on where there was interaction, they could ask questions, but also the content was available on our YouTube channel for them to dip in and out of. And one of the things that we do on, which we did on remote schooling, was to chapter the content in the show, so that you could just could skip ahead, you could jump to the bit that was most appealing. And actually, you know, if you think about it, you don't have to worry about getting childcare. You don't have to look out the window and think, oh, it's beautiful here today, but the weather's really crappy. I really, you know, the tea's done. Do I really want to get up and go out and go back to school? Probably not. So you're actually giving parents content in a way that's easily digestible on a phone. It's at a time that's convenient to them. I think those are the key things that I think technology absolutely transforms, that you don't have to be in a certain place at a certain time to get the same quality of advice and support and information. And I think it's kind of quite equalizing as well. I know that there are some parents who don't want to, for whatever reason, their own experience of school, to go to a session in school. And if they can have it on, you know, while they're cooking, or it's on their mobile phone, they can just sit down for 20 minutes and watch something. I think that for me has been a bit of a transformation. The other thing that has been really great with Legends, just remembered this, with the virtual assemblies for Be Internet Legends, is that schools are able to invite parents along. So again, you don't have to get the whole morning off of work to go to your child's assembly. You can maybe just take 15-20 minutes out in the morning and just tune in on YouTube, and all of the assemblies that are interactive with the school. So you might hear your child's name, they might be answering a question. So again, that just it just makes things easier, I think, for parents. And even where tech might be a bit of a barrier, I still think parents are really recognizing this is just making our lives easier. It's making it easier for us to engage with what our children are learning, how they're getting on, the things that they love. You know, a bit like not commuting, it just frees up more time in your day. And actually then perhaps you don't feel so stressed about being proactive about getting information.
Sophie, that is it from my questions. So I'm going to say thank you very much.
Thank you.